moment in life requires you to be animated, to be somebody who you're not, to be, I don't know, on stage per se. And so tonight I'm going to do this video, but I'm not going to be super animated. I'm not going to be, well, I'm usually not, to be honest, but this is just something that needs to be done. And so we're gonna get in and we're just gonna do it. And I'm not gonna worry about trying to be, extra, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. So obviously, as you can see, well, maybe you can't see, but this poor little guy, the moss pole broke, and I was contemplating on going ahead and propping it, but I was going to wait for this leaf to unfurl. But the leaf actually got damaged when it fell as a result of the moss pole being broken and it not having enough water in it to support its own weight. And so as a result, we're going to go ahead and prop it and pray, and we'll kind of go from there. And so here we go. Enjoy it. Hope you do. Let's jump into it. And clicker's not clicking. Alright, so welcome back everybody to Armstrong, Aroids, and Rare Plant Enthusiast. We need to get this variegated Pedatum propagated, or at least cut down, not necessarily for propagation, but I don't know, just to gosh, I guess propagation's the word. I don't know, but I want to cut it, let it grow out some more, and let it reroot and thicken up and get fuller. And so we're gonna go with the term propagation. But in order to do that, we have to get it out of this moss pole. And this moss pole has just done, I mean, if you can't already tell, this moss pole has just done a phenomenal job. Let's see if we can get right up on there. I don't even know what this tag is. What is it? It's an Equigenera tag for, I don't know, something, but Equigenera doesn't even sell these, so I don't, oh, I know why I had that. It was actually in there to try and hold the moss pole in place because it was already flimsy, so I was trying to support it. Didn't work. It ended up breaking, and it did end up damaging my leaf, which is leading to this moment that we have right now, but that's fine. Oh, here we go. So if we get right up on there, see those roots in there? Yeah. I mean, obviously we're gonna have to break this moss pole down and rebuild it later on for something else, but it did its job. It did a phenomenal job of creating some aerial roots that are rooting into the moss, and so it's ready to be chopped and propped is the term we're going to go with, popular term, in order to continue on with our process here. So this is going to be messy, but it's also going to be, I gotta be really careful. In fact, I remember when I don't know if you guys remember, but when I first brought this home, obviously the leaves were all about like this size here, but I broke off my favorite leaf in that process. It was a sad moment. It really was. It was like, oh, hurt feelings. But since then, it's put out some amazing leaves, and it will continue to do so, hopefully. And hopefully it's just going to be more full, and I'm going to be able to share this with others one way or another. But like, we've got a beautiful half moon going there. We've got some awesome evenly balanced variegation going there. You know, it's just done an amazing job, and so I want to continue that process and continue to grow it out. And we'll probably even take the bottom piece, like the original leaves, and just let them do exactly what they did before. So I'll probably like just top cut it, and then I'll probably just cut it down into layers where each of the aerial roots are at, and kind of go from there. So let's just jump into it. Yeah, the primary goal, be careful, don't break leaves. All right, let's do this. or roots. Don't break roots. This is probably going to be a slow process at first. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze it. My goal here, actually, you know, maybe I'm not even going to do that. So definitely made sure that I sterilize these because I don't want to cause any contamination. And I'm going to just cut off all of the thread there. That way we don't have any type of issues that would be unexpected. Obviously you can't see what I'm doing, so maybe I'll go this way. We're just cutting off the thread. And the thread is really what holds the sphagnum moss in place. I don't know if you would call this like my own rendition of a lazy pole, but it's done a pretty amazing job up to this point. Again, just a little bit of wire just to hold it in place. It's not on there too tight. Really the only reason why it's there is just to hold the root system up against the sphagnum moss so that the aerial roots can kind of root into the sphagnum moss. Okay, and let's see. I'm going to just tip it upside down. Paying close attention to where all the roots are at. I don't want to do any damage to the root system below because my goal is this original root system that you see right there. I want to keep that intact because I am hoping that it replicates exactly what it's done for the top cut that we have in place right now. Now, interestingly enough, you know how I've shared in the past that I don't like using wood inside something that gets water because it rots. That did rot, but it rotted on the outside of the cup. So inside, it's not on the inside, it's actually taped to the outside. But it still rotted, and as a result of it rotting, it broke, which is what led to it having to be propped a little bit sooner than expected, and to losing or damaging the one leaf, which was certainly not expected or appreciated. But that just goes to support why I am not a fan of wood inside of water. Alright, and I'm really not even going to put in a lot of effort to separate all of this medium or media from the pole, because I really plan to keep most of that intact. So I'm going to just drop the lick outside of there. I'm going to lay it down so that we don't damage anything that we don't want to. And I'm going to continue to work on this and separate the moss pole from the plant. I think we're pretty good through all of that. And then, you know, this has done an extremely good job of growing into the plant, and so I want to be very careful not damage the plant as I have separated it from the pole. Alright, pole did its job, pole will be reused. We'll definitely be replacing the broken piece of wood, or in this case, what is this? Shish kebab stick, I believe it is. And then again, kind of, if you look at this, the shish kebab, this outer piece, there's no wood there. This back piece, there's no wood there. What I've done is I've taken the plastic and enclosed the shish kebab stick inside of it so that none of the rot gets in and contaminates the plant. Really important aspect of this particular design. So we'll pull this out. We'll throw another one in there, and as you can see, done deal. And this is pretty much ready to go again. We just get some more sphagnum moss. Very minimal loss of root system. As you can see, it came off extremely easily, so we're good there. Now the goal is just to take the rest of this system, and I'm going to call it a system because it's all working together in conjunction in order to keep the leaves happy, and start chopping. This is the hard part, not physically but emotionally. All right, let's see. Top cut, go right there. Whew. This is the leaf that was damaged when it fell. The damage is right there. I don't know if you can see that dark spot right down the spine of the plant. But even still, because it's growing in some pretty decent humidity, we've got a really nice aerial root. Let's get up in here. Really good aerial root, so it's gonna do, should do just fine. We'll let it callus over for a little bit. Probably overnight, even though, again, if you've watched my previous videos, you know I've struggled to let something callus overnight just because I hate to lose an active root system, but because it's an aerial root, I'm not as concerned because aerial roots require air, not water, not soil, so we'll be okay there. All right, next spot. Oh, this is another tough one. Clip that bad boy right there. Ooh. Couple of really good aerial roots and a beautiful leaf, and I'm just going to drop that in there as well. And then as I'm putting these into a cup to kind of sustain them, actually I'm going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to put some water in here, primarily just to give some weight to the bottom of the cup. As I'm doing this, I might take the water out and put it into, oh, actually, you know what, maybe I should do this right now. I'm going to take the cup and I'm going to stick it in a heavier pot so that I don't run the risk of the cup tipping over and doing any damage. So we'll take that out so that they can still callus over, but we're going to put this into something a little bit heavier so that nothing gets damaged by the cup tipping over. This is clearly not going to tip over. It's nice, it's heavy, it's weighted. Alright, not weighted, but it's weighty, I guess is a better way to put it. Alright, next. And I want to be careful to pay attention to growth nodes as well. Like, for example, you can see that what's probably going to happen is this node right here is going to become activated once I cut it. But it's not going to do me any good if I actually cut the node or cut a section that's not going to allow that node to have sufficient rooting. And with this being predominantly a half moon, I want to make sure that that leaf stays happy. So let's go ahead and remove some of the sphagnum moss. And this is also going to be a good view or a good lens into why moss pulls are so good and why they promote such good leaf growth and size in comparison to when you don't use them, because they can root in. So what happens is the leaf will root into the moss pole. That's all of this was actually rooted into the moss pole, and so it's gaining energy, it's gaining water, it's gaining strength, it's gaining nutrients from this section which is in the moss pole. Now, if it had just grown all the way up and not been attached to a moss pole, it would be dependent on whatever is in this base here to supply the nutrients to the entire plant. But that's not the case because of the fact that the moss pole, when you spray it with your nutrient solution, it also has the ability to sustain or provide nutrients to the leaf, and so you get a really strong root system as a result. And as a result of that, you get much bigger leaves than what you had originally. So if you look at like these bottom leaves, like this little guy down here, in comparison to this huge guy here, that's a result of the moss pole. The plant is maturing and it's gaining strength and growing, but it's not wasting its resources in the process, and the moss pole is what contributes to all of that. All right, moving on. Let's see. Let's go here. And just being very careful as I separate each leaf, because it is very well attached to where it was attached to the moss pole, and so I want to be sure to not damage any of those aerial roots that are growing into the moss pole or were growing into the moss pole, because I'm going to depend on those to sustain this leaf as it regrows and rejuvenates. And, you know, it's still going to get everything that it needs from this root system, instead of having to grow out a root system and lose the leaf and all of that good stuff. So, and again, this is another one, pretty much a half moon. This is, I mean, this is just a beautiful plant, good genes. All right, and I'm not going to try and remove all of this. What will happen is I'll rinse it off in water, and as I rinse it off in water, the sphagnum moss will come off much easier. I don't want to run the risk of damaging any of the roots that are on there by trying to get too much of that sphagnum moss off of it in the process. Okay. We're getting close to the original plant. Probably only a couple more nodes or intersections, I guess is what I'll call them, meaning that sections between petioles or stems of leaves that lead to the plant leaf before we get to the original plant that was there. And so we're probably going to, let's see, we'll do this one. And this is a tough one because this one has a node or a aerial root that's starting to grow right about where I would normally cut it. And so I'll show that to you. So I have to be very careful, because what I don't want to do, let's see, get up real close. See this little bump right there? That is an aerial root. There we go. That right here, oh, my nails are terribly dirty. Right there is an aerial root that is about to grow out. And so I don't want to damage that. I want to leave that intact. Especially with how beautiful that leaf is. Man, look at that. So I want to make sure that I'm very, very careful in terms of choosing where I cut, because that's another area that can provide sustenance for the plant. Now we're pretty much down to where the original plant was when I first bought it, with the exception of this one leaf. This leaf was probably just barely growing out at the time, and what I had originally bought was more along these leaves right here. And so we'll probably go ahead and take just one more off of here. And let's see. And again, we just want to be very careful and be very concise about our actions. And here's another reason why. So this right here, that's actually a root that's just kind of, instead of growing down, it's decided to grow up and follow the source of water. It's probably a part of the original plant because it actually comes down into here. But I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure that I don't damage that and I don't cut it. And then at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this to you. What I really want to do, maybe I can go like this. What I want to do is I want to come right, let's see if I can get inside of that and show it to you. Looking for the angle here. I don't think I'm going to get it kind of right there, so you can't really see it, but right in between, well, you can't see it, but right in between here. So we'll cut it and then you'll see it afterwards. Let's just go that route. Maybe this angle. Maybe this is the angle that we need. Let's see. Again, just careful, cautious, patient, slow. Right there. You can't really see why, but that way what's happening is I'm cutting off the top leaf, but I'm not damaging the roots that are growing up from the bottom. And this is a tough one. This guy's kind of rooted in there quite well. Let's see, I can't figure out where all he's rooted in at. So I'm just going to slowly pull apart the sphagnum moss and separate it. Just being very careful. Don't want to damage the root system. And it looks like maybe that root that I thought was growing up from the bottom is actually growing out of this one leaf here. So could have been wrong. But either way, we're just going to slowly take our time, separate the sphagnum moss. Probably be good to actually have some water that we could dip it in, because the water would actually loosen up the sphagnum moss. Yeah, wow, this guy is super well rooted in there. Just nice and easy. Yeah, this root's going down into here. Maybe I'll speed this part up, maybe I won't, we'll see. But like, I will show you this though. See how that root is, it's actually tied to the bottom part of the plant there. So it went down in search of water. So we just need to make sure we pull that guy out. Got that. And okay. I broke off a little bit of the root system, not a lot, but that's a pretty substantial root system even still. Look at that. And then look at that. Let's back it out. There we go. Yeah, good looking plant. Okay, good looking leaf. Alright, so now what we've done, and look at how long this is. Look at that. That's super long. Just want to make sure we don't damage that as we put it in here. So I'll probably like twist it a little bit as I drop it in, just to kind of help it fall into place without putting too much pressure on it. So now, got that. And then we still have our original plant. We're still happy, still intact, root system all still doing really well. But now it's been separated from the moss pole, and what I'll probably do is I'll put it back on a moss pole. I don't think I'm going to do it like right away, because it's not going to need it right away, because it really has created kind of its own little section here. But I'm going to put it right back on a moss pole and let it do the same thing and just grow right back out just as it's done before. It should have a growth point somewhere in here that will activate as a result of propping it, and so we'll just have to wait and see where that growth point is and where it grows out, but I'm sure that it will have one. I'm not seeing it right off. Let's see what kind. Of looks like it could be one, but we'll wait. But because it's such, I mean, it's such a mature plant and there's so much there that it's definitely going to have one. And so what we'll do is once that activates and grows out, we'll be right back in a good place. Right, all over again. I want to leave it in the same media. I'm not going to leave it in the same cup because I believe that this cup, yep, it is. So this cup is a little bit smaller than the cup that I'm going to put it in, just so that it has a little bit more room to grow, not too much. But I want to kind of give it the same environment that it was in before because it did so well. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to reuse this leca. And maybe even probably use this. We'll use all of this. We'll use all of that, yeah. Okay. Then we're going to drop it right back in there. And you know, I think what I'm even going to do is just going to drop that in there just like that. So we're going to reuse pretty much everything. We're just going to drop it all back in there just like that. No need to worry about putting too much sphagnum moss behind it or lacing it up just yet. Right now we just want to basically give it a little bit of stability and allow it to grow right back into that pole just like it had previously. And then we can, oh sorry, I got a scratch. We can build it out later on, but we're gonna pretty much do the exact same thing but without the wood this time. And then I'm gonna use this exact same twisty tie just to lock it right back into place just the way that I had before. Out a bit. Get locked in, maybe. There we go. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be super tight. Just enough to hold the plant up against the sphagnum moss so it has the opportunity to root inside of the sphagnum moss as it grows up the pole. Okay, so we're back in good shape, and even this, I'm pretty sure this still looks bigger than what it was when I originally bought it, and so we're in really good shape. No harm, no foul, plant's really happy, and now we're just going to grow everything else back out, and we will stick them into their own little setup once they root out. The goal with each of these is going to be, we're going to turn those aerial roots into root roots by keeping them in some water for a little while, but we're going to wait until it actually calluses over. We want the cuts to callus over so that it doesn't get any mold. Once those cuts callus over, we'll drop it into some water. And I can even drop, like, what I can do is this little bottom section right here, I can fill that with water and just don't touch the part that's been cut. So that way we still have some humidity going on, we still have some nutrients going into the plants, and we still increase our chances of everybody being happy without having to dry out the roots, but also without encouraging root rot because of the cut part touching the water. I am a big proponent of doing that, and so that's what we're going to do. And because this is water that was previously used for it, which probably still has some of those I don't want to call them nutrients. What are they called? You know, it's things that, hormones. It has some hormones, like rooting hormones, that are in there. We're going to utilize that and just bring this up just a little bit. And obviously some of it's not going to get root. Some of the roots aren't going to get to touch the water just yet, but by tomorrow I'll have everything will callus over, and I'll drop everything in the water, and it will start to root out from there. And we're going to have two beautiful plants. And then not only that, these nodes that have been cut or cut above or below the nodes, they're going to activate and they're going to start to grow. And same thing with this. This is going to grow another shoot or offshoot from its original plant. And so that's, you know, I guess that's the propagation process is really what it is. So we're going to go from there, hope for the best, and pray, because as of this time and date, this is a super expensive plant and super expensive experiment. But it's not really an experiment if it's backed by practice and science, which is what we are, backed by practice and science, because it has been done many times over. And so we're in a pretty good place as far as that goes. All right, so thank you for watching. Again, that was a propagation of my variegated Pedatum, and I've been super happy with it. Definitely, spoiler alert, definitely probably my favorite or second favorite plant up until this time. And stay tuned, and I'll update you on its progress and how it's doing. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe. And if there's some content that you'd like to see more of, please feel free to share that with me as well, as that's really what helps me keep going, and knowing that you are interested in the information that I'm sharing. Have a good day. Bye.